mind just to clap 3 times in front of your face? Clap 3 times.
Now?
Yeah, please. Perfect. Cool.
All right. Do you want to start, Annalise, by just giving us a description of the 2 things you said are the most important in your work? Let's just state them right out front.
Yes. So first, I want to say that our first project was actually to show if dogs were able to detect people who were infected by COVID-19, and we did that in control settings. And it was actually very interesting because we realized that the dogs were not only able to detect people with COVID-19, but were actually very reliable in the detection. Our problem is that we needed to actually make sure it was scalable, so that we could train as many dogs as needed. And at that time, we were using sweat samples from people infected to train the dogs, to imprint the dogs, to tell them that's what you're looking for. So obviously, it's logistically very difficult to get enough samples to train a lot of dogs. So we work on something called a training aid. So training aid is a surrogate scent of COVID-19 that is used to actually train dogs. So this batch of dogs is actually a cohort that's been trained on the training aid. And obviously, we want to train them on the training aid, but that's not COVID-19. It's a scent of COVID-19 that we created. So we actually checked if they could find people who were infected by COVID-19, sweat sample of people infected by COVID-19, and it was successful. They can actually go from the training aid to true sweat sample and make a detection, and now they're going to be deployed and be able to actually find people who have got COVID-19. The second big thing that's changed in our project is that initially we were only using sweat sample. So we were actually asking people to take a sweat sample, which was a gauze that we were putting under the armpit of people, and we were giving that to the dog. And we were using this kind of stand to actually present this gauze. And when the dog finds someone is positive, he will sit and stare. That's for us to say, okay, this person is positive. If the person is not positive, the dog will just continue to walk along. This actually is a bit time consuming because people have to be asked to give a sweat sample, and they have to give a sweat sample for 2 minutes or even 1 minute. But it's not really a fast process. We wanted to have the dog as a very fast tool to detect people who were infected. So now, instead of relying on sweat sample, we actually ask the dog to screen people directly. So we call that live screening direct. So if the dogs are actually able to be trained with the training aid and can detect people directly, I think we'll have a tool that is fit for purpose.
And how big a deal is this for the world? How would you describe the potential impact of this aid working?
I think it's very big. I actually think it's a revolution, not only for COVID-19, because obviously we want dogs to be able to screen for COVID-19, and it's very good, but I think with time, we are going to live with COVID-19, and it might not be something that is a problem in the long term. Having said that, I still think in some places, we won't be able to have COVID-19 coming in. For instance, like in an oncology department, we want to make sure that everyone coming to work or everyone coming to visit the people who are under treatment are not bringing them this disease. So in certain type of setting, it will be actually very relevant. But I think the revolution comes to the fact that until now, we were using either PCR or antigenic tests to see if people were positive, not only for COVID, but for many diseases. And here we actually show that we can use volatile organic compound to actually detect if someone is positive or not. And we are using dogs as a detection tool, but we could also use electronic nose. They are at this stage still less sensitive. Meaning less reliable to detect people that are positive for certain disease. But I just mean that it's a big revolution because actually it's a total new area of research. It's a total new field. So I think it's pretty big for COVID-19, but for many other diseases.
So